What if I told you that she starts missing you the most is also the moment she realizes she can never reach you again? There's a quiet kind of power in letting go, not with bitterness or games, but with the kind of calm that only comes from deep acceptance. You're not trying to make her regret. You're not waiting by the phone. You're simply not there anymore, not emotionally, mentally, or energetically. She begins to miss you, not because you disappeared, but because she can feel you've detached from the outcome. And that's what unsettles her the most. Her texts won't land the same. Her old tricks won't work because something in you has shifted. And there's no bridge back to the man who used to need her validation. This isn't about revenge. It's about evolution. It's about becoming so at peace with her absence that even her return wouldn't disrupt your path. And that's when she feels it most. That desperation. Your silence does not cause it. Your growth causes it. If you're ready to stop looking back and start moving forward for real, hit like, subscribe, and comment below. I release what no longer serves me. Let's get into it. Number 1. The rebirth that begins with her goodbye. Right now, it hurts more than it should. You replay the moment, her silence, absence, and final words. It feels like a part of you was ripped away. But what if I told you this pain isn't a punishment? It's a portal. What if her leaving wasn't the end, but the violent beginning of the man you were always meant to become? When someone walks away from you without looking back, it feels like failure, like you weren't enough, like your love didn't land. But that illusion that love means being chosen is exactly what Stoicism teaches us to dismantle. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." And true freedom begins when you stop needing someone else to validate your worth. You don't rise by clinging to the person who left. You rise by facing the version of yourself that depended on them to feel whole. That's the real work, the internal fracture. Because when she walked out, she didn't take your value with her. She took the illusion that you needed her to be powerful. And now there's nothing left but truth. This pain. It's not your enemy. It's the fire forging you. It's the disruption that breaks your patterns of emotional dependency. The silence forces you to meet the parts of yourself you kept hiding. You don't heal by getting her back. You heal by getting back. Here's your move. Stop checking her online status. Stop rewriting the last message. Stop chasing the ghost of the woman who walked away. Instead, sit in the pain, not suffer, but listen. What part of you broke when she left? What part of you feels like it died? That part was built on illusion, and now you can rebuild it in truth. Start with your body. Train it. Strengthen it. Let each drop of sweat be a prayer to the man you're becoming. Then build your mind. Read, reflect, create silence, cultivate calm. Because the man she left behind was reactive, uncertain, and seeking approval. The man you're becoming is unmoved, defined not by who stays, but by who he chooses to be. When they don't, psychologically, this shift reclaims power. Instead of chasing closure, you claim control. Instead of seeking validation, you cultivate vision. And when she eventually looks back, and she won't recognize the man you've become. Not because you changed to get her back, but because you finally let go of who you were when she left. If you've ever rebuilt yourself in the fire of heartbreak, speak this below. She didn't break me. She revealed the man I had to become. Number 2, the power of letting go without demands. Right now, you might be clinging to the idea that you deserve a reason. a conversation, a final explanation to make sense of why she walked away. You want closure because it feels like the only thing that could calm the storm. But here's the hard truth: that need for clarity is the very chain keeping you bound. Closure is a comfort we chase, not for healing, but for control. We think if we can just understand, we'll be free. But Stoicism tells a different story. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Her leaving is not your burden to interpret. Her silence is not your puzzle to solve. What matters is your response. You don't need her reasons. You don't need her apology. You need to decide to let go without waiting for someone else's permission. Because sometimes the people who hurt us don't even know why they did. Their exit is often messy, unclear, and filled with contradictions, and chasing answers from chaos only leaves you more confused. You're not here to decode her. You're here to reclaim you. Think of closure as standing outside a locked door, hoping someone returns with the key. But the Stoic man doesn't wait. He turns away, builds a new door, and walks through it alone. That's not cold, that's clarity. So here's what you do. Stop replaying old conversations. Stop scanning her posts for hidden messages. Stop needing her final words to feel complete. Because when you walk away without demanding closure, you take back something far more powerful than an explanation. You take back your emotional authority. Psychologically, this is where true detachment begins. You're no longer outsourcing your peace. You're no longer giving her the power to define when your healing begins. You're not proving a point by staying quiet. You're proving a truth. You can no longer be broken. And here's the irony: when you stop seeking answers, that's when they start asking questions, not because you intended to trigger regret, but because your silence becomes the one thing they can't explain. That silence haunts. But you're already gone. If you've ever walked away without needing closure to close the chapter, speak it now. I didn't need her explanation. I needed my peace. Number 3, when silence speaks louder than emotion. You want to reach out. Just a simple message, a reaction to her story, a subtle reminder that you're still there, still feeling. That urge comes like a wave, sudden, emotional, heavy, but deep down, you already know that you shrink every time you respond, because in that moment, you've traded power for reaction. The man who cannot stay silent becomes one who cannot be forgotten for the right reasons. He becomes predictable, accessible, easy to influence. And that's exactly what Stoicism teaches us to resist, not through coldness, but through discipline. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Silence becomes a declaration, not of indifference, but of inner mastery. Right now, your emotions want to act. They want attention, resolution, and response. But attention is not strength. Restraint is silence, is not about ignoring her. It's about choosing yourself. When you don't text back, when you don't check her feed, or respond to that casual, "Hey," you're not playing a game. You're refusing to be played. You're choosing to protect your dignity over feeding her ego. You're choosing to rise above emotional currency and reclaim your inner calm. Think of it like battle training, except this time the battlefield is emotional, and every act of silence is a strike in your favor. It doesn't matter if she notices. That's not the point. The point is, you notice, you feel the gap where you once reached out, and instead of filling it with noise, you fill it with growth. Practically, this is a pause, a breath before you respond, a refusal to perform, a conscious shift from chasing attention to building presence. Silence teaches you something. Words never can. You don't need to be seen to be powerful. And that silence, it's not passive, it's strategy. Psychologically, it creates space. Space where she once controlled the tempo. Space where you reclaim your emotional rhythm. And as that silence stretches, she begins to feel what used to be yours emptiness. Not because you're gone, but because the echo of your presence now belongs to you, not her. You didn't disappear. You just stopped reacting. And in that stillness, you became something she didn't expect, unavailable to her games, but deeply available to your future. If you've ever chosen silence over emotional surrender, speak it now. My silence isn't weakness, it's self-respect. Number 4. Building in the shadows, where she can no longer follow. There's a moment after heartbreak where most men collapse. They numb the pain with distractions, new women, loud nights, empty victories. They move fast, not forward, but you. You chose the harder path. You didn't run from the wreckage. You studied it. You didn't replace her. You replaced the parts of yourself that once needed her. This is where transformation begins. Not in proving anything to her, but in proving everything to yourself. The pain she left behind. It became your blueprint, the weakness you exposed by loving blindly. It became your weight to carry to strengthen. Stoicism doesn't ask you to suppress grief. It asks you to alchemize it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your heartbreak is no longer the obstacle. It's the fuel. So you build quietly, patiently. Without posting your progress or checking if she's watching. You rise, not with noise, but with consistency. In the gym, at work, in your routines, your silence becomes structure. Your solitude becomes sacred. And while she wonders if you're suffering, you're too busy becoming unrecognizable. This is the power of self-redemption. You stop trying to be the man she wanted and become the man you were always supposed to be. In practice, this means discipline over distraction. Mornings of purpose over nights of escape. It means setting goals not to impress her, but to fulfill you. It means disappearing from her world so completely that she won't recognize who she once left behind if she ever looks again. Psychologically, this shift transforms your identity. The relationship no longer defines you. You're not the man who was left. You're the man who evolved. And when the memory of you returns to her mind, as it inevitably will, it won't be attached to pity. It will be tied to awe. You don't rise to show her you were worthy. You rise because you were always worthy. She just wasn't equipped to see it. And now it doesn't matter, because you've stopped asking if she'll ever look back. You're too busy looking ahead. If you've ever turned heartbreak into your highest discipline, write it now. She left, and I built a man she'll never meet again. Number 5, when letting go meant finding yourself again. You didn't fall apart because she left. You fell apart because somewhere along the way, you handed her the blueprint to your self-worth. Her attention became your confidence. Her affection became your compass. And when she walked out, so did your reflection in the mirror. But that wasn't the end. It was the invitation. This isn't about bitterness. It's about awakening. Because in that silence, when the texts stop and the presence fades, you face something you'd been avoiding, the truth that your value had been outsourced. And now Stoicism calls you back to your center. As Epictetus said, Freedom is the only worthy goal. Freedom from what? From passion, from fear, from dependency. That's where your strength begins. Not in getting over her, but in reclaiming your emotional independence. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. You stop defining your days by whether she thinks of you. You stop hoping the universe gives you signs that she regrets. You stop looking backward altogether. Because every time you anchor your worth in someone else's presence, you surrender control. And the Stoic man never begs for control. He embodies it. Letting go doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop clinging. It means you look at the part of you that wrapped your identity around her and say thank you for the lesson. But now, I choose me. Here's how it looks. You begin to say no to the urge to check her story. You replace the obsession with improvement. You are not detaching to punish her, but to protect yourself. You stop giving her the power to define how lovable you are. That was never her right. That was always your responsibility. Psychologically, this shift rewires your energy. Instead of radiating desperation, you exude dignity. Instead of reacting to her distance, you lean in your direction. And she will feel it. Not because you're trying to be felt, but because your absence is no longer about her. It's about peace. And when a man radiates peace, he becomes unforgettable, not to those he left, but to himself. That's the win. If you've ever stopped seeking closure and started seeking clarity, say it below, I let go. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I started loving myself. Number 6, the test she left behind and how you surpassed it. You know the moment when she reaches out again. She misses you, not because she wants to see if you'll still chase. It's not a confession, it's a trial. A test of whether you're still the man she left behind, the one who could be swayed, the one who would drop everything to fix things. But you've already learned the lesson, and this time you don't respond like she expects. Instead, you take a breath, you step back, and you let the silence speak louder than any words you could offer. This isn't about being petty. It's about clarity. It's about knowing that her reaching out isn't an invitation to reclaim what's lost. It's an invitation to prove that you've moved forward. And here's where you have the upper hand. Your peace no longer depends on her. Your value no longer depends on her approval. That's the Stoic shift. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So when she texts casually, as though nothing's happened, your response isn't irritation or hope. It's acceptance. You've already grown past the need for validation. You've already stepped into a life where you are the one who chooses when to engage, not the other way around. What does this look like in practice? It means you don't chase the emotional breadcrumbs she throws at you. You don't try to rekindle a spark that never fully caught fire. Instead, you take this moment as a reminder of how far you've come, and you stand firm, anchored in the man who no longer bends to someone else's emotional whims. Psychologically, this move shifts the power back to you. When you don't react, when you don't chase, you shift the emotional dynamic. You don't need her to validate your healing. You've already validated it yourself. And the more you stand in your power, the more she'll wonder if she ever truly had a hold on you. This isn't manipulation. This isn't playing hard to get. This is emotional sovereignty. And when you hold that, no one can pull you back into the version of you at her mercy. If you've ever surpassed the test and stayed true to your own path, write it below, I didn't chase her back. I chose to keep walking forward. Number 7, the strength in reclaiming your own worth. She might never fully understand what she walked away from, but you'll know exactly what you've rebuilt, what's been forged in the silence, what's been sharpened in the space where she once existed in your life. Because the truth is, you never truly lose anything that's meant for you. What you lose is the attachment, the version of yourself that believed love had to come at the cost of self-respect. The person who thought validation needed to come from someone else. And the moment you let go of that version, you begin to see the power of your own worth, independent of anyone's approval. You've already started the process of reclaiming your strength. Every day, you choose to move forward, even when the weight of the past lingers. Every time you choose discipline over distraction. Every time you invest in your goals and growth, instead of waiting for someone to fill the void. That's how you reclaim your worth. As Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. And in this moment, you're learning to master yourself not through her eyes, but through your own. This isn't about revenge. It's not about showing her what she lost. It's about showing yourself that you don't need someone else to dictate your happiness. You've learned that your peace, strength, and worth are yours to define, and no one can take that from you. In practice, investing in your own life and building the habits, the routines, the relationships that make you stronger, independent, and fulfilled. You've stopped measuring your success by her approval and started measuring it by your own growth. And with each step, you become less and less connected to the version of you, dependent on her. Psychologically, this shifts everything. A need for validation no longer drives you. You've become a man who is self-sufficient in his emotional landscape. And when she looks back, she won't find a broken version of you. She'll find someone who has grown stronger, more resilient, and more self-aware. And that strength, that power, it's what makes you unforgettable. Not just to her, but to anyone who encounters you. If you've ever reclaimed your power and stopped allowing others to define your worth, write it below. I don't need her to know my value. I know it myself. Number 8. The man who found strength in his own shadow. She thought she could walk away without consequence, but she didn't know that the true cost of leaving wasn't on you, it was on her. She left, and in that absence, you found yourself not in her affection or validation, but in the space she created for you to stand alone. This is the paradox of emotional growth. We often lose something to realize what we hold too tightly. In Stoic philosophy, the path to strength isn't found in adding, but in subtracting. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And you in your solitude found that you needed less than you thought. You didn't need her approval. You didn't need her to stay. You needed only yourself. The space she left, it became the fertile ground for growth. You stopped looking outward for validation and turned inward for truth. You didn't wait for closure. You didn't wait for her apology. You didn't beg for answers. You stepped into your own life, rooted in self-awareness and emotional clarity. This shift is subtle but profound. You stop being the man who reacts to external circumstances. You stop being the man who feels incomplete when someone walks away. You become the man who stands in the power of his own presence without needing anyone to complete him. You are already whole. This practice isn't about shutting down your emotions or pretending you don't care. It's about creating emotional space to sit with your feelings without being consumed. You don't need to fill the gap with someone else. You need to fill it with your own strength. And the more you do this, the more magnetic you become. Not because you need anyone, but because you've become a force in your own right. Psychologically, this brings about a shift in perception. Instead of searching for external validation, you become the source of your own energy. You stop being the man who is defined by others' actions. You become the man who defines his own reality, and that makes you more than just attractive. It makes you powerful in a way that can never be taken away. If you've ever turned your pain into your power, say this below: I found strength in my own shadow, and it made me whole. Number 9. When you stop chasing, you become the one who can't be forgotten. She walked away thinking she had the upper hand. Maybe she believed you'd chase her, beg for her to return, or drown in the void she left behind. But you didn't. You stopped running, stopped chasing, stopped trying to prove that you were worth staying for. And in that moment, something shifted, not just between you two, but inside of you. Because here's what no one tells you. When you stop chasing, you don't lose the game, you change the rules. The Stoic man doesn't move through life with the energy of pursuit. He moves through life with the energy of self-mastery. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, and the good man doesn't run after something he knows he's already worthy of. You've learned to respect yourself enough not to chase, not because you don't care, but because you finally realize that her attention doesn't dictate your value. Your worth isn't something that needs to be proven through desperation. You've become a man who doesn't need anyone to validate his existence, because he already does that for himself. This shift isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about emotional sovereignty. It's about standing in your truth, power, and path. And when you do that, you stop reacting, you stop performing, you become an unmovable force. The more you stop chasing, the more you embody that unshakable confidence. And in that calm space, she wonders if she made the right choice. In practical terms, this means not chasing the validation you used to crave. You don't respond to every text, don't show up when she expects you, or engage in the emotional games that used to define your relationship. Instead, you stay focused on your mission, your goals, and your own growth. And when she sees this, when she sees that you no longer need her to define your happiness or your peace, she starts questioning her own decisions. Psychologically, this move creates a power shift. Instead of her holding the reins, you take them back. Instead of you being defined by her actions, she becomes intrigued by yours. The more you remain stable, the more she wonders why she can't rattle you. And that curiosity becomes a bond she can't break. You're no longer the man she left, you're the man who chose himself. If you've ever stopped chasing and started standing in your power, write this below: I didn't chase her. I chose to chase my own purpose. Number 10. When your purpose became the thing she couldn't forget. You might have thought that love was about giving all of yourself, your time, attention, and energy. You thought that if you loved deeply enough, you could show her you were worth choosing. But now, after the silence, after her leaving, you've learned something far more powerful. Your value doesn't come from how much you give. It comes from what you stand for, your purpose, your mission, your drive. And when you shift the focus from her to your purpose, something changes. It isn't about abandoning love or care, but putting them in their rightful place. Love should complement your life, not consume it. When you stop chasing her affection, you realize something crucial. Your true power lies in the energy you put into the things that matter to you, not in someone else's approval. Stoicism teaches us that we are not at the mercy of others. As Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You stopped wasting time when you shifted your focus from chasing her to your own goals. You stopped waiting for something outside of yourself to define your peace. And the moment you did that, you became a force that others couldn't overlook, not because you demanded their attention, but because you no longer needed it. Instead of waiting for her to return, you put your energy into something bigger than both of you. You threw yourself into your craft, your fitness, your future. You built a life not around her presence, but around your purpose. And when you did that, you became the man who can't be replaced, not because of what you've done for her, but because of who you've become for yourself. In practice, this focuses on self-mastery. You work on becoming the best version of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, so that when she looks back, she sees a man who is unrecognizable from the one she left behind. A man whose value is no longer tied to her or anyone else's validation. A man whose life is driven by purpose, not by reaction. Psychologically, this shift is profound. People are attracted to those who have something bigger than themselves. When your life is filled with purpose, it becomes magnetic. The people who see you working on something greater will be drawn to it. And those who once left you behind, they'll feel the pull of your progress and wonder if they made the right choice. If you've ever turned your focus from her to your purpose and become unshakable in the process, say it below. I stopped chasing her, I started chasing my greatness. You began this journey thinking she would only miss you if you went quiet, but now you know it's not the silence that echoes in her mind. It's the fact that you've moved beyond needing to be heard. She'll miss the version of you who once chased, once apologized, once over-explained, but that version no longer exists. And even if she reaches out, she won't find the same man, because you didn't just walk away, you outgrew the place where she could find you. If you're ready to protect your peace and never shrink back into who you used to be, like this video, subscribe, and comment, I've already left inwardly. Keep walking, keep rising, and let your distance remind her that some losses are permanent.